What's up, shit? Timmons here. With the new Running Man coming out this week, since it stars Glen Powell, I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite Glen Powell film and TV projects. I only have mostly two TV shows on this list, and the rest are movies. He's done some really good stuff over the past number of years, so here is my official top 10. Number 10 is the 2022 film Devotion. Devotion is a true story of friendship and heroism about Jesse Brown, the first black aviator to the U.S. Navy history. And you got Glen Powell, who plays Lieutenant Tom Hunter, who's a loyal and honorable Navy pilot who risks everything to save his wingman. And the chemistry between Glen Powell and John DeMages were pretty solid. The movie is really intense at times. Great performances are around. You even got Joe Jonas was in this as well. Devotion was a really interesting film that is well worth watching. There, I don't think hardly no one went to go see it at the time, but anyway. All right, number 9 is Set It Up. Now, Set It Up stars Glen Powell and Zoe Deutsch, who, by the way, I mentioned this before. I actually was lucky enough to see both Glen Powell and Zoe Deutsch in person on the set of this movie, because I was walking from somewhere one time and they were like showing this like Set It Up, and I actually was lucky enough to see Glen Powell literally face up, pretty much literally close up. And let me tell you, the guy is tall. Like he's literally above me. Like the guy definitely is a tall dude. And Zoe Deutsch, she got looks pretty in person. But anyway, now Set It Up, stars again the aforementioned Zoe Deutsch and Glen Powell. And this got released back in 2018 before Glen Powell became as big as he is now, really. And it's about these two overworked assistants in New York who hatch a plan to set up their demanding bosses to get more like free time and all. And the chemistry between Glen Powell and Zoe Deutsch is great. Tate Diggs, Lucy Liu is really good in this. Netflix rom coms could be a hit and miss once in a while. This is one of their better ones. It's really decent. It is charming here. Um, I really wonder if we're ever gonna see Zoe Deutsch and Glen Powell do another film together. Like, there was talks about them like possibly working together again. I don't know if there will ever happen to that one. But Set It Up is a really nice little rom com if you guys never seen that. Like, really, it would be cool seeing these two work together. Like, I could easily see them become like the next Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson, or maybe Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore when they kept doing movies together here and there. But anyway, number 8 is a TV show actually, and that is Scream Queens. This was actually my first introduction, like the one that really introduced me more to. Like, I've seen Glenn Powell stuff here and there, but this was really the one that really introduced me to him a little more. And Scream Queens, of course, has the likes of Jamie Lee Curtis, Ariana Grande was in this one. It's pretty much a horror comedy about a college sorority plunged by a series of murders committed by a mass killer known as the Red Devil. This movie only lasted for about, I think, 2 seasons. It was awesome. It's such a shame that they really last too long. But I enjoyed Scream Queens. I found it to be hilarious, a really nice satire on the slasher genre. Glenn Powell, of course, portrays the role of Chad Rodwell. Not his first time playing a character named Chad. I'll get you that here in a bit. Who's like this womanizer lead of the Dickie Dollar Scholars frat. And he is actually a fan favorite. Like, he's done stuff beforehand, but I feel like Scream Queens is one of the ones that really introduced some mature audiences in awe. Of course, Emma Roberts is great in this, Jamie Lee Curtis. Scream Queens is just a lot of fun. It's such a shame it got canceled too soon. I'm still holding out hope we get a revival, but who knows. Alright. Number 7 is, speaking of Chad, is a recent series, and that is Chad Powers. Chad Powers is awesome. It's only 6 episodes, which is unfortunate, but Chad Powers is really hilarious. It stars Glenn Powell, who plays a washed-up quarterback who disguises himself as his to relive his glory days, and of course, it's executive produced by Eli Manning. It has a little bit of a Mrs. Doubtfire feel to it, set in football. Chad Powers is really hilarious that time. I meant to do my review for it, but totally forgot about it. But I'll just give a straight up quick review here. Chad Paris is great. Like his chemistry with like this mascot who actually helps him with the makeup, like with the prosthetics and stuff, is really great. Steve Zahn is great in this one. It's just a lot of fun checking out. It's hilarious at times. It has lots of heart to it. Do yourself a favor. Give Chad Powers a go. I mean, I'm holding. I hope we get another season, but who knows? All right. Number six is Hidden Figures. Now, of course, Hidden Figures is based on a true story. That follows like three African American women, mathematicians at NASA, who were vital to launching astronauts John Glenn into orbit. And it stars, Glenn Powell as John Glenn, who's a heroic, respected astronaut who recognizes the balance of the woman behind the scenes. And Glenn Powell really does play the part well. He embodies John Glenn perfectly. You can buy him as this heartfelt astronaut, and it's a really decent role of his. They could totally do a buy. Like I would love to see a biopic about John Glenn with Glenn Powell starring. Like a Hidden Figures spin off of Glenn Powell as John Glenn could be pretty cool. But anyway, number five is a recent one, and that is Twisters. Twister is, of course, the legacy sequel to the movie Twister. Here you got Glenn Powell, who plays Tyler Owens, who's a drill-seeking, charismatic tornado influencer, who's like part daredevil, part hero, and his like chemistry with the lead scientist Kate, played by Daisy Edgar Jones, is really good. I mean, he really plays the part very well. He definitely steals lots of scenes here. I mean, I thought he was really great in this one, and a really good performance there. Hopefully, we'll get another Twisters, but anyway. All right, number four is Anyone But You. Probably one of his highest grossing films, really. Anyone But You stars Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. Speaking of romantic chemistry, I really wonder if we're ever going to see Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell work together. Who knows? And it is, of course, where like a modern enemies to lovers rom com, where Bea and Ben, who had a disastrous first date, pretends to be a couple at a wedding to keep their families happy here. And the chemistry with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell is excellent, to say the least. They really play off each other well. You know, so well you actually at time you actually thought they were really dating in real life, but Sydney Sweeney is obviously with Scooter Braun now, so good on them. But so Anyone But You is a pretty decent one that's well worth watching there. All right, number three is Everybody Wants Some. Now, of course, Glenn Powell has worked with Richard Linklater before, which I'll get you a little bit. Everybody Wants Some is a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. That follows a group of college baseball players in 1980 as they navigate parties, friendships, self-discovery. Here you got Hal, who plays the philosophical prankster and smooth talker, and he acts as a sport of a social leader. Glenn Powell was, I can say, this is one of his like most breakout roles. Really, Glenn Powell was really decent. He plays the part very well. You also have the likes of like Jenner, Tyler Oakland, the aforementioned Zoe Deutsch was in this one. Everybody Wants Some is really decent. It's hilarious at times. Great performances by the cast. It's a well worth watching film there. All right, number two is Top Gun Maverick. I can see now he's done stuff beforehand, but I feel like this was really the one that really put him on the map for most people because it was more of a breakout role for him. And obviously, since then, you got a lot of other pretty high profile stuff. Now, Top Gun Maverick stars Glenn Powell as a confident, cocky, sharp pilot, Jake Hangman, who rivals with Rooster, but ultimately proves his loyalty when it, like, of course, counts here. And Glenn Powell really plays his part well. He definitely has a little bit of a Tom Cruise feel to him at times. Uh, I can't remember who actually said it, but one person actually mentioned how Glenn Powell reminds him of Tom Cruise. I think it's Rosamund Pike. Was in an interview and was mentioning how like Glenn Powell reminds her of Tom Cruise at times. And you know what? I could see it. Definitely has a little bit of that Tom Cruise flavor to it, and you know what? If they were to go ahead and like start a whole new Mission Impossible film, Glen Powell would be perfect to star in it. Like, obviously, if you can't get Tom Cruise anymore and you want to start a whole new fresh with a new Mission Impossible, I think Glen Powell is should be the choice, but who knows? Anyways, Top Gun Maverick is still a really good one. That's well worth watching there. Find that Powell did like not one but two aviation films that same year. Maverick and Devotion. He's very devoted to those. All right, my favorite Glen Powell project is obviously the movie Hitman, directed by Richard Linklater, starring Glen Powell as Gary Johnson, aka Ron, who's a charming, quick-witted man who crafts multiple Hitman's personas. Hitman is such a good movie. One of my favorite films that came out of last year. Glen Powell has some really fun moments in this. He is really hilarious. Audrey Arjona is really good. His chemistry with her was really decent. The movie is really great, and I also mentioned how Glen Powell reminds me of Tom Cruise. There are times where he reminds me of Matthew McConaughey. Because obviously because of the Texas thing, they're actually both from Texas. Glen Powell and Matthew McConaughey both done rom coms. Uh, Glen Powell obviously and Matthew McConaughey both worked with Richard Linklater before. And if you guys don't know, Glen Powell was actually working on a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot, which, if you guys don't remember, Matthew McConaughey was in Texas Chainsaw Generation. So you see how, very similar, they're very similar to another, I don't know, I feel like maybe Glen Powell is like a love child of Tom Cruise and Matthew McConaughey in a weird way. But still, Hitman is a really good one. I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, do yourself a favor, go watch it. One of Glen Powell's best performances, in my opinion. But that's pretty much it there. Here is my quick rundown. Number 10, Devotion. 9, Set It Up. 8, Scream Queens. 7, Chad Powers. 6, Hidden Figures. 5, Twisters. 4, Anyone But You. 3, Everybody Wants Some. 2, Top Gun Maverick. And number 1 is Hitman. Now, there's a few other ones I could have added to. Let me see. His film credits. I totally forgot that he was in Spy Kids 3D. Raise your hands if you remember he was in Spy Kids 3D. Come on. When the Baker Story, Fast Food Nation, another Richard Linklater film, The Great Debaters with Denzel Washington, the 2009 movie The Hottest State. He actually appeared in Dark Knight Rises, which I totally forgot he was in that. Stuck in Love, uh, The Expendables 4, which that was actually my first introduction to him, I should say. Sex Ed, the one that he did with Haley Joel Osment. Misconduct. He was in Ride Along 2, Sandcastle, Apollo 10 and a Half, another Richard Linklater film. He has a couple of other ones I'm excited for, like Huntington, the new J.J. Abrams film with Jenna Ortega. So he also appeared in the one of the Halloween episodes of last year of Family Guy, Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. He's done some really cool stuff over the years. But let me let you guys. What are some of your favorite Glen Powell films? Draw comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Him Siren.